guys, Shelly here with the Gray Wren Nest. About a week ago, or longer, depends on when I post this, I created this whole cloth cheater cloth. I know some of you might be a little bit disappointed with the fact that I'm not going to give you step-by-step instructions on how to make this yet, but I promise you that I will. It's just that I have a baby gift to get done, and I'm going to use my own fabric that I designed. And if you are really interested in this fabric, this one I did print off with Spoonflower. And yes, I do have this design in my Spoonflower store. So if you just go on there and search for the Gray Wren Nest, my store should pop up. So take a look at my description down below. And if you really like what you see, you can go ahead and grab this as well. And what a perfect way to quilt it, but with my new QCT6 upgrade. So the Grace Company did sponsor my first video with the unboxing of the QCT6 upgrade from the edge to edge level, the basic level, clear up to the pro level. That's 2 levels up. So I have a plus and a pro. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention them again and again and again in the next videos, just because they're such a wonderful company to work with. I could do the edge to edge like I always do and have it done just in a snap because I love the basic level. But I'm curious about what I can do with this on the plus or pro level. I haven't decided which level I'm going to do yet because I'm just so intrigued with all of it. It's just going to be so much fun. Oh, and one more thing. If you followed my short that I made displaying this on my ironing board, and I asked you a question, should I keep the lines in or remove them? See, this has the lines. It doesn't look that bad. But this is my first design. But I love it without the lines because, you know, on a true quilt, when you piece it all together and then you finally quilt it together, you don't see the seams as much. And that's the quality that I'm going for. So I'm going to go ahead and remove, or I should say, I already did remove the grid lines for the ones that's, for the fabric that is posted on Spoonflower. Just in case you're wondering why it may not look exactly like this one, but this was my practice one that I made. But I don't want to waste material because it's still beautiful. But I do have someone who came to mind, and actually it wasn't long after I posted that short that Meddy from Georgia, she chimed right in and she said, no lines, and yes, she wants to know how to make this. In fact, she was so excited, she sent me an email and invited me to the Georgia Longarm Quilt Guild. And I think the guild is actually called the Georgia Longarm Connection. So I was invited to join them at the end of November. I look forward to meeting all of you. And thank you for inviting me. Also, if you are interested in going online and finding this at Spoonflower, you're going to notice in the storefront, I have a Christmas version with greens and reds. I have more of a citrusy color with greens and it's like a lemon lime coloring, almost like this back here. And then I think I have I did some blues, darker blues and lighter blues. So take a look, and you're also going to notice that I have companion fabric to match. And I have a very special way down the road to share with you how I make the companion fabric. So stick around because you're not going to want to miss that video because that one's a cool one as well. So press that notification button, like and subscribe, and you won't be disappointed because I have some great videos headed your way. So I have this set out on my cutting table, and I have, starting down here, 7 rows this direction, and I have actually 12 rows this direction. This piece of cloth was 2 yards, and I want to say this is like 42 wide, if if I'm not mistaken. But the neat thing about this is, you know, I've got a little border here, so I'm not cutting right up against here and then losing some of my pattern. Now, I originally intended on making this one large laptop. In fact, I wanted to cut a little bit off here so that it was more like maybe a 42 by 60. But I decided that it would be really cute for a baby. And this way I can get a couple baby blankets out of it and make it worth my while. I did get this when it was on sale at Spoonflower. Yes, I have to buy my own patterns there. I put them up there, but I get a discount for it. And you know, the discount's worth it because I get to buy it more at my discount, going in as a seller versus or I should say a creator versus a buyer. So that's always nice. But when I look at this pattern here and deciding to make it into a baby one, what I think I will do is actually go down the middle of this block here, and that way I'll have 5 squares going this direction and 7 squares going this direction, because I want a middle row for my diamonds. See how my diamond goes right here? And it'll be right down the center of that quilt. Next, I needed to decide, do I want to hit select and sew on the QCT6 Plus version and place each block and sew it out, or would it be quicker to explore the QCT6 Pro version and see if I can do it a little quicker? And then Barry from Barry's Quilts question came in. Barry, here's what I found. I have been watching the Grace videos. I think it's Angelique that showed me, or didn't show me, she made the video for all of you, but you know, she was just speaking to Shelly. At least that's how I felt. She was speaking to me. And she taught me how to use QCT6 Pro. Rather than placing the blocks separately like you would in the Plus version, you can now edit your blocks using PatternCAD, and then you can set up a grid that looks like your quilt and actually sew in zones in QuiltCAD. So the thing that I love the most about the Pro version is that I can go into PatternCAD or QuiltCAD, and I can save my work even when I'm in simulation mode, and that's pretty cool. And that's what I'm doing right now. I have it off of my long arm and it's sitting on a desk, and I'm going to start playing here and designing. So first I want to go into PatternCAD and I want to pick my design. First I want to find my 8-point star, and I see one right here, but I also know that this 8-point star is not the exact shape that I'm looking for. So I'm going to have to edit it. So what I do, I'm going to pull it over here. My nodes are already active. I call these nodes. And I want to make sure that my snap to grid is on. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shift my node over into the area that I think is going to really be helpful for me to fit my pattern. So I know for a fact that this square right here is 1 inch, and then each of these little markers are 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to shift this node over to this mark, this 1/8 inch. I'm going to do that on each one. Okay, so I'm going to do that on all of them. Okay, now I could take it one step further and I could actually, over here, let me shift this over a little bit. I could actually click on size and I could stretch left to right and up and down this design here and make it fit into a 6-inch square. But I really don't want to do that because I may want to save this design in a different size down the road. So I'm not really concerned about the size right now, because when I go over to the QuiltCAD, I can size it over there into my 6-inch block. So I just wanted to make sure that I had the general shape that I'm looking for. And then I'm going to press save. And then I'm going to save as. Now the way to save as is that you click on this box, you type it in, and then you hit enter. And then you will see, once you hit enter, you'll see the word pop up here, and then you press save. Well, I already have a Shelly folder, and I've already saved this star the way I want it, so I don't want to save it again. So let's just pretend we saved. And I'm going to click out of here. And while I'm in QuiltCAD, the really cool thing about this is that I have a grid. And I want this grid to mirror what I'm actually working on, which means I need 5 across and 7 down. So now that I've got 5 across and 7 down, I know that my height is 42. So I'm just going to type in 42 and press OK. And I know my width is 6-inch blocks times 5, which is 30. I'm going to hit OK. And I know that my block is a 6-inch block. So that is a good size right there, and I'm going to hit OK. So now I have the exact width and length of my quilt top. So I'm going to go back to layout, and I'm going to select my star pattern that I saved. I'm going to go into my Shelly folder, and right there's my 8-point star, and it brought it up over here. But I know that it's not the size that I want. Okay, now that I have my star pattern picked, I need to place my pattern. I know that my star starts up here in the upper left-hand corner. So I'm going to pick that one. Then I'm going to place it. And then I'm going to size it. And then I hit maximum size and maximum height. And notice what it did over here? It fit exactly into my quilt block here. It's exactly the size that I need. That's why I didn't size it over in PatternCAD. It would have, if I did it over there, it would have brought it into this exact size, but why do it there when I can just fit it exactly here? Okay, so now it's really important for me to test this star to make sure that all of these points are really where I want them. Because remember, I edited this flower. So what I want to do is go up here to print, and it comes over here to a sheet of paper, and then I'm going to hit print pattern, and it's going to print out on my printer. I used this same method with my cross pattern as well and printed it out. Here you see the 2 blocks, and then I cut it down to size to make sure it's a 6-inch block for each. Next, I got some parchment paper, and I laid it on top of my paper pattern, and I traced it with a pencil. I took the traced design and laid it on top of my fabric blocks, and this is what it turned out to look like. I love it. It's perfect. So here's a close-up of each of the patterns that I designed. I wanted to make sure that the leaf structure of the star and the cross, they weren't exactly sitting on top of the pattern. They were a little more abstract, which made it look like a watercolor inside the lines. What do you think? I'm extremely happy. So let's get on with the quilt. So I showed you the process of how I determined that this star is exactly where I want it to be as far as the shape goes and the size goes, as well as my cross. So now I just need to place them on this grid. So what I want to do is, I have my active star here. I hit select, and I want to do a pattern grid here. So I'm going to hit that, and look what happens over here. It brings up my highlighted grid, and I know for a fact I want my star, but guess what happens? When I click on my star to put them all in, it resizes it back to what it was, but that's no big deal because all I need to go is click size, maximum, maximum, and I'm right back to where I was. I'm going to pick a different pattern. I need to go over here to blocks, and I picked this cross here. I'm going to open it up. So in order to place this one, I need to have an active cell, and notice I'm still in this grid pattern over here. So I want to go over here to select again and click on my pattern grid, and look what happens. It turns all of these active, and I hit place pattern. And it placed my cross pattern in the right areas. And now I want to make sure that it is sized properly. So I go over here to maximum and maximum. And it automatically resized those. And now I have my quilt pattern set up. How cool is that? So what I want to make sure I do is go into File and Save, and I did. I saved it as Once Upon a Star, and that's my quilt pattern right there. It's pretty neat, huh? Now you'll notice that I saved it rather than up and down and across. I actually saved it so that it was 7 across and 5 down the first time I did it, because I knew that's how I wanted to place it on my quilt. I was going to quilt my quilt top sideways instead of up and down, so I'd have less rows to quilt. Hopefully that makes sense. This is the quilt back that I chose. It is flannel from Walmart, and it's for a baby girl, and I thought it was extremely complimentary to the quilt top. Now it's time to load the backing onto the long arm rails, and I'm going rather fast here because this is not about how to load the frame. I just want to give you an idea of what I'm doing. I have separate videos on how to load the frames. Here I'm adding the batting to my frame on top of the backing. With my channel locks on, I am stitching a horizontal basting line across the top of the batting. Next, I'm adding my quilt top, and I'm lining it up against the straight edge of that batting, the basting line, and I'm going to also stitch this one down with the basting line so that it doesn't move. You can see I'm going across, and then I'm going to go and baste my sides down. Now I'm in the live version of QCT6 Pro, and I'm going to click on QuiltCAD and pull my pattern up. So now it's time to sew. So I'm going to highlight all of my blocks, and I'm going to select Sew in Zones. I want to make sure I say yes to saving. Before I do anything here, I want to make sure that I check my settings. So I come up here to the settings button, and I like to sew on medium speed. My tie-offs, I like to be, oh goodness, it's going the other way. I like my tie-off to be a 2. I like micro stitching, I like to have my automatic bobbin pull. And one thing I know I do not like is to pause at every blue node that you see on here. That means it's a jump stitch. If it stopped at every single one, it would waste a lot of time. That does save your jump thread, but you have to weigh your pros and cons. Do you want to stop it each time and cut and trim and then start again? Or do you just want to keep sewing and clip your jump stitches as you go? I'm choosing to not pause at my blue jump stitches for the sake of time. Sake of time versus sake of thread. I'm going to hit OK. Now it says to place my first marker, and it says that I should pick the center top. So I'm going to go ahead and say pull bobbin. It went from the center over here. Now it's going to allow me to pull my bobbin. I'm going to pull it and then move back. Notice it moved it back here. I'm going to hit sew on my computer screen here. Down here it's going to move by itself. Gorgeous. It fits right in the block. Oh my gosh, I'm in heaven. So for the first time of doing one of these pattern placements for a row, I don't think I did too bad, but isn't that beautiful? Now please note, these do go beyond the block, but that was my intention. I wanted it to look more like a flower petal, but more like a, what am I thinking of? Like a washed, oh gosh, like a soft paintbrush type feeling of a flower, you know, where it's not perfect. And that's exactly what I'm getting here. I feel like it gives it movement because it's not just, you know, outlined here, but it is a movement of a flower. I like it. May not be your cup of tea, and you don't have to use this pattern block, that's for sure, but I think it's rather cute. And I think this one fits beautifully. And see, it goes outside as well, but that was my intention. It still looks like a cross, but it still has that flowery effect. Okay, my row 1 is done. So I'm going to hit mark zone. But guess what? It's telling me and reminding me, did I pull my bobbin thread? So I want to come over here and pull it up and snip it off so that it does not pull all the way over here and waste thread when it goes back to the other side. So I'm going to say yes, I pulled it. And now I need to mark my zone. I clicked the button, mark zone. My machine moved over to this area, and I'm going to do a single stitch, pull up my bobbin, and use my heat erasable pen to mark it. Then I'm going to go to my next mark. My machine's moving over. I'm going to hit single stitch, pull up my bobbin and mark that one. Now this row is set. My second row is set with these markers. So I'm going to say continue. Do I have all my markers placed all right? I'm going to say yes. The machine will now move to where the fabric marker is for the next zone to be positioned, and I'm going to say OK. Now here's where I have to decide, do I have enough space to stitch out my next row, or should I roll? And I'm going to roll a little bit up. I'm going to move my fabric up and get it close to the marker, the heat erasable pen, but it doesn't have to be right on it yet. And I'm going to hit OK. Now notice my zone 2 came up, and I'm going to repeat the process. In order to place my next one, I now need to, instead of placing my center mark, I need to place my, I need to go over where my heat erasable markers are and pick them. So I'm going to move my machine over to this mark, to the edge of my quilt block there. And if I like that placement, see how it's like, here, let me get a little closer. See how the corner of that block is right in the center of that, right in the center of that hoop, the needle foot there? That's what I want. And I'm going to hit A. Then I'm going to move my machine over to this heat erasable pen mark, and I'm going to click B. Now all the remainder of the prompts will be exactly the same that we just went through to sew out all the remainder of the rows. And when you get to the end of row 5, this is what you will end up with. Oh, I just love it. Oh my gosh. I'm so proud of myself. I can say it was a bit of a challenge because I jumped from edge to edge clear to the Pro. And I know there were a lot of areas that I wasn't real familiar with, and I had to do a lot of studying. But hopefully by presenting this video to you, you won't have to do the studying like I did. So after I was done gloating there for a little bit, I took the quilt off of the long arm and admired it a little bit more. I did some self-binding and put my gray Wren tag in the corner. And here's just another look at the tag in the corner. It turned out beautiful. Notice I serged there on the ends, so there were no raw edges. And here's another look. Here's the baby set that I made. I made those pants, and I embroidered the top, and I made the diaper rags. And of course, I bought the bows. If you like what you see, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.